Hi friends, welcome back to more Microsoft Flight Simulator Career Mode with our lovely friends and on-air company managers. So I messed up. I made a boo-boo, and today's video is going to be all about correcting that crazy boo-boo. So here's what happened. I've got a lovely AI pilot here named Ellis Wright over in Western Ontario, and I thought, Ellis, I want to bring you home, buddy. So I decided to go look for a job to bring our AI friend pilot home. So I picked out this nifty little transportation mission, this medical transportation mission, going from CYRL over to Montana, because I figured, hey, that's closer than anything else, right? That's not too bad. That's more than half the distance back home to the West Coast. Unfortunately, I missed the fact that this mission has a specific requirement here that says it has to be flown by a real flesh and blood human. It can't be an AI, it can't be a cyborg, it can't be data. It has to be us, or I guess if we hired someone, it could be them too. But what I used is the logistics center to do kind of a reverse search to see, okay, how can I get my butt to CYRL? So basically you type in the airport you want to go to and look for any flights that might be nearby. Lo and behold, we found ourselves a lovely little executive transport from KHCR directly to CYRL with no other restrictions other than the fact it has 7 passengers. It also expires in about 18 hours. So this one, the original one, expires in 13, but we should have plenty of time to get there. And in order to get to KHCR, again, I did the reverse search and found a flight out of Abbotsford. I think it's Abbotsford or Abbotsford. Yeah, Abbotsford. And that's going to be going from CYXX down to KHCR. We, as a person, are sitting at Castlegar right now in our TBM 930. So what we're going to do, and this video is going to be kind of crazy today because I'm going to be hopping pretty much all across the US. It'll be like a little bit of a cross-country trek. It'll also be in a King Air. So I'm excited to kind of spend some more time in the King Air other than just doing the check ride. So we're going to fly from Abbotsford over to CYXX. Meanwhile, I had one of our AI pilots transfer from our home Snohomish County Airport over to, what is this, like WN40 or something, this really tiny field here. And they're going to be picking up another King Air that I just rented. So they're about, 20 minutes out. So by the time they get there, we're going to send them up north to meet us at CYXX. We're going to do a bit of a handoff, and then I'm going to start my long couple of treks out to the east. Meanwhile, they're going to probably take over and do a couple of these transportation missions locally. So bring a bunch of stuff back to our original home airport, which is KORS. Now, I've actually been looking at the Asia Tour mission, and I think this would be a perfect time for us to move up to the jet category. Finally, we've got some really long legs here, really long distance, 1,900 nautical miles, 1,400 nautical miles. I really don't know if there are any aircraft that are just, other than like the big jets, the Airbuses, the 747s, I kind of think the Cessnas are going to be the best, I guess, performance in terms of how far you can go and how much fuel you're expending comparatively. So if we take a look at the generate search aircraft list, looking at the jets here, now we have access to the Cessna Citation, is it the Longitude or the Citation? It's the CJ4. This is the only one that we currently have loaded in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So if I take a look around Snohomish County, there are quite a few for sale or rent, and it's really not too expensive. It's only $4,600 per hour. So that's easy. That's easy money. It can hold 10 people, a great payload, and it has a pretty decent range. So yeah, that's pretty much my theory. We're going to probably switch over to the Cessna CJ4 in order to get over to Europe. I will be looking for some rather long flights. So this should get us from our home here. I guess actually I don't have to go east. There's no reason to just go straight across. We could do a flight down to Hawaii. Would be kind of fun. Or we could try to see if we can make it over to Japan or something like that. But I might do a couple of hops. We might jump down to Japan. We might take kind of the Northern Circle route up here to, what's the Eastern Vladivostok here? Or something like that. I'm sure there's stuff to find. So that'll be for probably the next video. We'll start looking into the CJ4 for the different type of aircraft. I did want to mention that I keep getting this wrong. Whenever you're loading an aircraft for your flight, I've always told you guys that you're able to kind of adjust the weight. Apparently, that is not working. That is not working in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So if you adjust your weight and say you change your weight in On-Air Company Manager and you kind of spread the load out a bit, I guess no matter which simulator you use, none of those plugins are working right now. I don't know if it's on On-Air's side or if it's the developers of all these different simulators, but when you split your weight out, it doesn't actually get split. So just keep that in mind. It's nothing you can really do, I think, at the moment. So if you are getting into a, what was that, a Bonanza G36, and you go, you know, booty in the air or something like that, or your nose in the air because your booty's on the ground, you're kind of stuck. So anyways, we've got our flight all set up. Here's our TBM 930, Castlegar to Abbotsford. We'll load up the simulator real quick, and I have been wanting to get into VFR charts a little bit more. I don't think, because today's going to be a bit of a not short video, it's going to be a long video, but there's not a lot of free time. So I wanted to kind of take a dive here and look into some of these charts. We might do that for our first CRJ 4 flight. Is it CRJ 4? CJ 4? I lost track of it now, the longitude. But I wanted to start looking into more of this, the VFR maps and stuff like that. Somebody linked a video in one of the comments of YouTube, one of our previous videos as well, that explained how to read these VFR maps. So I'd like to try to get more into it and understand the VFR maps a bit more. Maybe just do a little bit more paper planning, because I think that'd be kind of fun. Alrighty, friends. I think we are pretty familiar with the startup process for the TBM 950. So I'm not going to show too much of this initial flight. Unfortunately, even though my settings indicate that it should be about 11 o'clock, I am still in the dark. So I feel like sometimes the time doesn't always get set correctly, which is a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. We'll survive somehow. Well, I will say, taking off out of Castlegar is kind of interesting, because you're actually in, I think, almost a completely surrounded valley when you first take off. And as you can see on my course down there, I actually do need to go this way, but we're basically turning right into a mountain at night in the dark. So what I'm actually going to do is just kind of go up and down, basically up and down the populated area here in the valley until we get to a nice, safe, comfortable height. The one problem I tend to have is with depth perception. I guess if you zoom in really close, you're able to see kind of the different terrain here. Let me trim myself just a wee bit. There we go. So it's not too bad, but it does get kind of hard to tell where you are versus where some of the terrain features are in your ground radar screen here. But either way, this is such a useful tool to have, because look at that. Well, okay. That's actually really gorgeous and looks perfect. But when you're first taking off, it is rather difficult to see what you're about to fly into. So I'm quite happy that we do have our lovely radar friend here. But anyways, I won't take up too much time just chatting. I thought that was just kind of an interesting thing of taking off here at Castlegar. I'm imagining a lot of these areas in this region of Canada that we're in are going to have the same kind of valley challenging landing approach. So you're coming over a hill, dive down, and try to stake the landing. I kind of think it'd be cool to go into a couple of those challenges, by the way, while we still use On-Air Company Manager. So maybe doing some bush flying later on. So kind of landing some cargoes maybe into a really challenging area to get to in the upper Pacific Northwest would be kind of entertaining. But I think we're pretty much good. We are over the Z Mountains now. So I will see you closer to Vancouver. All right, so here we are a little bit later on at Abbotsford, just east of Vancouver, and we are landed and ready to go. So at this point, what we're actually doing is waiting for our delivery pilot, good old Joseph Schofield, to bring unto us our Beechcraft King Air 350. And pretty much from there, we're going to start hopping across the United States. So of course, our goal is going to be to go from Abbotsford down to, can I remember where this was? I think it was down in Utah? Or am I getting one of our older missions mixed up here? We're going to, oh, we're going pretty far down there. Yeah, that's right. We are going to Utah. Never mind. I lied. We're just going to southeast of Salt Lake City. So this is a 2-passenger mission. We could do this with the TBM right now. We're waiting for our friend anyway, so I guess we could take a quick peek at what is for sale over here at this airport. Oh, hey, there is a Cessna Citation. Man, would that be a fun trip? Do we want to get our Cessna Citation from here? That'd be kind of interesting. No, I really do want to spend a little bit of time with the King Air. I don't really want to skip up too many levels. I will have plenty of time to mess around with the Cessna CJ4, so we'll come back to that. I will wait until our friend pilot Joseph Schofield here is all set to go. All he needs to do is land. His flight duty is actually almost over with, but I think we might just have a smidge of time to send him back to Snohomish County, and then we'll have one of our other AI pilots take over, and then they'll do a bunch of our delivery missions into KORS. If you guys wonder what I do between takes here, between little cuts, I play Crusader Kings. Alrighty, our fellow pilot has landed, and we are good to go with this new Beechcraft King Air that we're renting here in CYXX. Hello? What happened to the engine? Did it just die out? I have many questions. The engine was not like that. Does that indicate a full failure? Repairs, do we have to do anything to it, or can we just fly the plane? Oh no. Hi there. Yeah, this is different. I've never seen this happen before. I don't understand why the engine went completely kaput. Worst engine number 2. Did it have a full failure here? There's no workshop. Oh no, we're gonna have a problem with the Beechcraft King Air. This might throw a bit of a monkey wrench into our plans. Not terribly so. All engine condition must be greater than 50%. So we can't do anything right now. Engine number 2 must have failed. That's crazy. So I wonder if one day the on-air company manager developers are going to tie in failures into Microsoft Flight Simulator. We're going to have to stop the rental. Nothing to pay. We couldn't do anything with it. Oh, no, I did move it here, didn't I? Yeah, we did fly something here. So the only other Beechcraft we have is way over to the east in Western Ontario. So I guess let's go back to the drawing board. We are at CYXX. We're just going to have to look around and see what's nearby. See, we still have like 13 hours, so it's not the worst thing. For me, it's just a mild inconvenience, which is enough to be like, man, seriously? Golly gee, I'll just go back to playing more Crusader Kings while I wait for the for the guy to move. We're at CYXX. Let's see what's around us first. So we have one rental. Now I'm nervous about picking up anything that's not really high quality. We have one rental that's 77 away. What about jets? Do we have any jets here? I said I really want to move into the King Air. However, if we do have an option to get a jet, they're only at CZBB over in Vancouver. So I don't know. Do we want to try this out and come back to the King Air at a later day? This is relatively close. I'll tell you what, we'll stick with our plan. We'll go ahead and go back to the the King Air. I will send one of my pilots over to get it and have them fly to meet me. So we're going to go ahead and grab probably this one. It's 77 miles away, so this is going to add a couple of hours to my recording time. I can't get anything right today. You're high quality, right? Good. You're not going to fall apart on me? Okay. So you're going to be sitting over at Aldergrove. Where are you at? You're all the way up here. So I'm actually going to have to hire a new pilot because I really don't want to go and transport myself over here. So we're going to do a little bit of a cheatsy doodle. And we're going to hire a temporary pilot. Sorry, it's at CYDC. Is that what I saw? Crap. I do need to double check on that. It's at CYDC, I think. No, CYRL? Where are you? Are you flying in midair? CYDC. Okay. You are at CYDC. Let me go ahead and grab a temporary pilot. I'm actually going to go to the global job market. And we're going to hire a brand new temporary pilot. And you can hire him basically for freelance or for permanent hire. Okay, to Princeton. There we go. So here's Alexis Bergman. She can, in fact, fly the twin-engine piston, turboprop land. So that's going to be fine. So we're going to go ahead and hire her temporarily. We will assign her to this King Air that's over at CYDC. and she's just going to do a quick flight to come meet us. Hopefully, between now and then, the engine won't go completely kaplooey, and we'll be able to actually finish this flight. This is a really long video. This is already about an hour and 45 minutes of just me recording. Half of it is not really anything me talking, but I'm already kind of like nervous about how big this file is going to be. Okay, so we're going to use Alexis Bergman, launch flight when ready, and she will auto fly between CYCD and our CYXX. So I guess what I might do while she's in the air is take a quick peek at some of our other employees who haven't really been doing much for a long time. Maybe we want to start getting them into some longer hauls with King Airs. Do we just load up on King Airs? What are the best type of transports here? What's got the best payload? Well, here's the thing. If we're going to start assigning stuff to pilots only, to AI pilots, we do not have to limit ourselves to the sim that we're using. This is where we can kind of be a little bit more flexible. But there's a Dash 8 here that could be for rent. So we can use other types of aircraft that we don't necessarily own if we don't plan on using it. I don't think there's any restriction that you have to be able to fly it in your simulator. So that could be something kind of fun. A bunch of Serenados here. 880 nautical miles. Again, a lot of these are a little bit out of our price range. And I'd also like to try to get something close to what I know. DO228, 19 passengers, 5,800 pounds. I mean, even the 350 has a ton of payload. So what I'd like to see is the same payload, but just a better range. Like right here, the Serenado DO228. Very great payload, huge range. That's massive. How much would this cost to rent? How much would this cost us to rent? Survey says there are a couple. Hey, they're only a couple thousand per hour. Maybe we just want to rent one of these. Are there any really close by? There's one over here at KRNT. I'll tell you what, for fun, let's do some experimentation. We're trying to kill time anyways. And so what we're going to do is rent this. It's going to cost $29,000 up front. We should have, a couple $100,000 lying around in the bank. We're going to take, what are you again? I didn't even look at what this was. This is a multi-engine turbo. So we're going to grab our employee. You're sitting at KRNT. So KRUNT, KRNT. We're going to transport you to KRNT. Start your transportation. Probably take about an hour. Yep, 40 minutes or so. And I'll start looking at more jobs. I really think I just need to be more active in looking for jobs for our AI pilots. And I will say, I think the one thing that I would appreciate if the developers get down and kind of, more comfortable and all the bugs are squashed and they're really looking at extending the features would be some way to schedule, what would you even call that? I don't know the technical term. I mean, just how basically you've got a desk at an airport and you do standard flights. Every day you come in at 8 o'clock and you take X amount of passengers and you just have a dedicated run between one airport and another airport every day at a certain time. And some other virtual airlines, I thought some other virtual airlines did that. I honestly can't remember, and I've been playing a lot of airport CEOs, so maybe I'm getting that a bit mixed up. But that would be a cool feature. Instead of relying on the job system, especially as you get into the Airbuses and stuff like that, if you want to be more of a regular airline, you're going to want to have your stuff scheduled. So you have an agreement with JFK that every day at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. rather, you have a flight from JFK to Detroit Metro, some regional flight or something. And I know there's a technical term that I'm forgetting, but I think that'd be a really neat feature, like scheduled. I don't even know if it would be in here somewhere, outsourcing. I don't know what it would be under. But once you're at the jet level, I think that would be a pretty fun idea, as opposed to just looking for, 1,000 passenger missions from these large airports. Which, it still works. It's not the worst thing in the world. I should actually learn to spell JFK. This is a short haul, though. This is probably not going to return too many valuable missions. You can make a couple million, though, per flight. So, I guess, the end all is the same thing. You're going to make the money. I just think it's more realistic to have a scheduled approach once you start to move into the super large jets. But anyways, I digress, my friends. This is what I do. I go on tangents all the time, and then we run out of airtime. So I will, who knows, I might cut this, but I'll see you back in a little bit once we have our new aircraft delivered from over in CYDC. She's already in cruise, so it's 34 minutes away. I'll be back. All right, so it's been a minute, but we finally have our Beechcraft King Air 350 ready to go here just east of Vancouver. By the way, I had some problems loading the fuel for this aircraft, and I didn't realize that I forgot that there were multiple FBOs here. So I don't know if I can get back into the screen, but if I just try to load up any general aircraft, you'll always have a drop down for however many FBOs are at your current airport. So I was actually at one of the, I think, player-owned FBOs that just didn't have any fuel available, and that's why I was running into so much trouble. So no big deal there, but I believe we're pretty much all set now for CYXX. We've got 80% fuel. We've got our surgeons on board. All of the ground stuff is all finished up. So yeah, finally we can get this show on the road. So Heber City Municipal McDonald Airport. Hey, we're back in that King Air. Haven't been in here since our check ride of doom, where we had a little bit of issues with, you know, mountains and freezing and all sorts of stuff. So hopefully today's flight will be a little bit better. Still at night, kind of weird. I've tried all sorts of different combos. I kind of wonder, can I just go back into my settings here, abort my flight? Shouldn't be too hard to get back into that.
By user.
Please don't crash. I'm not in the mood for you to crash right now. All we have to do is go right back into the flight, hit all of our buttons here, and we'll be right back to live tracking. But I kind of think before we hit the final button here, if I go to my settings, this is what I don't quite get. So it's UTC is 1328. I think we talked about this before. Is it because it's going UTC -8? Because we're actually in the Pacific time zone? So in that case, let's just jump it forward like 5 hours. Or I guess we'll just do 8 or something. That's fine. If we save that. Oh, while we have active flights of any sort. Interesting. So even when we have our other friends up in the air, we cannot change the time. Okay. That means I'm going to have to suck it up. No big deal. It's mostly, I just wanted to show you all some flight stuff as we're going up and down, but we've done that before. It's not the worst thing in the world if we have to skip that a bit. So I'll go back to tracking. Sorry. Go ahead and turn on my flashlight here, and we'll get this. Hi. Is that my follow me vehicle running away from me? Oh, I've already kind of forgotten how we're supposed to handle the King Air. Now, this will be fun, though, because the King Air, what we did last time was all about the check ride. So we really didn't get to experiment with the whole lot. We pretty much just went up and, you know, we came around, did our little dance here and there, and then we were done. So it'll be nice to do a little bit more with this than just kind of doing a couple of left turns and then coming back to the airport. Let me go ahead and get the lights up and running, and I will go ahead and just meet you all in the air, and we'll go from there. Up and away we go. We are taking off from our departure airport on the way to a long flight down to Utah. So I guess from here we're just going to cruise out. I guess if there's anything really interesting that comes up, I'll let you know. We are well on our way up to a cruising altitude of 31,000. Turns out I actually don't even know what the King Air max ceiling is. I should probably know that information first. We have a ceiling of 35,000 feet. Awesome stuff. Yeah, as far as I can tell, I mean, having, oh God bless, having the, every single time, I always have this turned on. You think we'd get the power settings all the way up into the green. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because we're in a constant climb. So maybe once we level out, maybe it's, you know, some kind of a measure of speed over the props or something as well. Hey, we are going to catch a little bit of dawn too. That wasn't too far off. That's great. This will be a lovely dawn sunrise as we fly over dodge some scurry mountains in the distance. Hey, at least we can see the mountains right now. That's exciting. That's our departure airport back there, I believe. It's pretty though. I do like the glow effect, actually. If you look off in the distance, you can kind of see that aura of city glow from all of the city lights. I'm digging it. But yeah, so far this flight is relatively smooth. As I said, I am trying to cut a lot of the in-flight stuff out because we're going to be doing a lot of takeoffs and landings. So I think what we'll do is I'll just kind of cruise. If we have a lovely little dawn sunrise, I might show that, but don't be surprised if it's just a bunch of takeoffs and landings and takeoffs again, because we are basically just hop, skipping, and jumping our way across the continental United States. Alrighty, friends, I'm back here with you about 80 nautical miles away from KHCR. As you can see, the sun has arose from its slumber, and the land is painted in glory and, well, hills and stuff. I didn't quite catch the sunrise itself. I was kind of asleep at the wheel a little bit, literally, almost. But it is pretty good, good looking out here. I'm going to go to the third-person view for just a minute. We are over some hills, so I didn't come all the way down the altitude. I actually might have to climb a little bit more because there is another ridge line up ahead, and then we've got the airport. So we're in like a interesting looking, like almost like marshland area. I know it's a lake, but over here it kind of looks like more marsh or something, like flooded fields as we get closer. But there you go. All in its glory is where are we at? Iowa? I forgot where we're supposed to be going to. We are going to, who knows anymore? Does anyone really know? Utah, that's it. Oh, hey, we're over the Great Salt Lake. Yeah, that would actually make sense that there are going to be salt manufacturing areas around here. But anyways, so we've got a little bit longer to go. I'm going to quickly go over to my other screen here, do map, split. You can actually see a lot of other aircraft. Oh, God, guys, be careful. A lot of other aircraft in the way. And if we scroll on down here, you will see how we have to go over this other hill, and then we kind of come right into the airport. So, not a super fun approach. Can we get a feel for what is at our runway? So, let's do... I don't actually have... Is there a second page on here? We could probably find it from the nearest airport list. I have to scroll out, and it zooms me out at the same time. Is there a way to, like, just pull this bar down? Oh yeah, I could just pull it down like that. So KHCR is what we're looking for. You know, I don't even know why I'm looking on this. I've got my handy dandy information sheet in front of me here. We can find out that we're looking at runways 04 and runway 22, and we're coming in on an approach of 12. So 22 would be this way. Okay, so it's going to be kind of a north-south-ish type of runway. So we'll have to bank out over one area or another. And I don't think this happens to have any kind of approach procedures either. I'm always a little bit bummed whenever there's no approach information, because it makes life a lot easier just to have just something in sequence, basically, for your approach. Is there any other way to load anything in here? I don't think there really is. Yeah, if it doesn't have it, whenever you click on approach, generally speaking, you're not going to have any RNAV or any other type of navigation ready to go. But anyways, should be relatively easy. I'm going to probably show you the approach here as we are over the Great Salt Lake. Yep, a bunch of salt processing areas. I flew over somewhere. Gosh, I was in... I don't know. I don't remember how I got myself down here. I can't even look at it now, because we're on a tracking type of flight, so it's going to lock onto my aircraft. I was down in South America. Oh my God, I don't remember how I got here. There was a field. It was like a really big salt lake kind of a thing like this right here, I believe. And there's like a little airport that was in the middle of this entire area that serviced all of like the salt marshes. And it was kind of crazy. That might have been it right there, actually. It was somewhere in this general vicinity. I don't really remember, but it was an interesting little area, completely flat, and then you just see like just miles and miles of salt marshes as they do, apparently. I have no idea. There you go. There's your inaccurate history lesson. I did start up a really long flight for the Serenado D0228, or the DO228. I wound up going to a site that lets you plan your fuel stops, and I use that information in order to get I can't even pull up my, I think I have to do this from the home menu. I did a work order, and I basically did 4 legs for a really, really long cargo flight. So our Serenado currently, if I take a look at work orders, they should be up in the air right now. I believe they're all ready to go. Yep, they're carrying about 4,700 pounds of food crates. and they're making 4 stops to get to their goal. So they're going from KRNT over to KPVD, which is a pretty long flight, but and this is actually going to be a really big payout. We got kind of lucky here. This is a $208,000 payout, and we picked up from over here at KRNT, and they're currently already on the way. So it's a really, really, really long flight. Who knows, maybe from here we'll actually do a transatlantic flight with some cargo. I was really happy to find this cargo option with it's just a normal cargo with nothing else special. No, I think it's called event planning. Sometimes there's a mission or a job called event planning. We are going to have to, I think, can I tell what my elevation's telling me here? I don't particularly think so. What is down up here? I've never noticed this little icon before. I also wish we had a ground radar, like I don't know, maybe it wanted a distance perhaps? That could give us more accurate information. We're going to have to slow up as we go over these mountains here, and then probably hit a pretty hardcore descent into the airport. Our target airport is, let me go back to my tracking screen. Sorry, I'm running also on like no hours of sleep. I think I've been up for about 25 or 6 hours straight today. So I'm recording this in a sheer delirium state, which is going to be fun for the next couple of legs. I might have to save what I've got so far and then kind of stitch everything together later. But yeah, airport is at an elevation of 5,600 feet. Okay, good to know. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a bit, and I will meet you back on the other side of this mountain range. Ooh, this is pretty. I will say, I expected this to be a little bit more boring, but you know what, Utah? You are not disappointing right now. Okay, this is actually a really interesting approach. So we are really high. I gave us way more cushion than I really needed to on this approach over the mountains. So the runway is about 5,600 feet. So let's set our autopilot down to 8,000. And we're going to start our kind of a little hairy descent. Going to come rather close to this lovely little mountain edge. Go ahead and pull back on the throttle quite a bit because we're already near the 250 knot limit. And just going to quickly double check that my landing lights are on. So I believe the runway should be over I think this lake right here. So we're looking at a little bit beyond the kind of the northern end of the lake. So somewhere over there is going to be our airport. It is unmanned, which is interesting as always. I'm going to go ahead and cut back the throttle even more. We are going to be coming in a little bit high, but I mean, this is how we have to approach, I guess. I suppose we could bank over to the left a bit, just to kind of give us a little bit of distance between us and the runway. And then we'll turn more sharply towards it as we continue to get farther and farther down. All right, so I think the airport is off our right wing right now. And I see a black strip right here. I think that's a normal road. I think I see some silo buildings, maybe in that general vicinity is the airport of choice here. Let's go ahead and make a right-hand turn. I think I also have my sim rate turned up just a smidge. So I'm going to have to mess with that here in just a few minutes. We are coming down. We should be leveling off in a minute or two. Yeah, we will be leveling off. I'm going to go ahead and just hold us where we are, because we are getting rather close to some hills. Our speed is still reduced. Man, we have a really large amount of power here. I'll tell you what, I might actually go ahead and pull back our RPM to about 50% power. That way we can have maybe more fine control over our throttle on this final approach here. If I could find the silly runway. This is a super awkward approach. Really trapped in here in the hills. I'm going to take autopilot off in just a minute. As soon as I can get a visual. Is that it right there? I think that's it right there. Okay. I do have it in front of me. We're just about to be over this hill. And I think we're over it right now. So let's go ahead and do VS and go down, down, down a bit. Pretty steep descent again. About 2,500 might be a little bit too steep. I think we're over this hill completely. I don't want to cheat and look over my window or anything like that. There we go. This won't be too bad. We'll be able to scrub off a little speed here in just a minute. Also, I really should be paying attention to, I think I'm also a little bit too fast on my sim speed. someone mentioned a joke about the airspeed and the flaps that I had and how the flaps would basically get ripped off. And I really haven't been paying attention to the maximum safe flap deployment speed. And I'm sure that could be easily found information. So I will have to double check on that on some of our other flights. But here we go. We should be on our final right now. I'm going to go ahead and announce our on final to our unmanned airport. Do we have any air brakes? Actually, I'm curious. Are there like any kind of a speed brake in larger aircraft? Parking brakes only. Like a speed retardation or anything like that? Not particularly. So we're pretty much stuck with flaps. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's be officious about this. I would know this information somewhere. Okay, I take it back. I thought it would be easy, but there's really not a lot of great information out there. I think it basically says 1 notch of flaps is okay. You can have a higher rate of like closure speed with the first notch of flaps going out. But more than that, and you might have some issues. We're still going really fast. This thing does not like to slow down. Look at that car traveling across the field. He just does what he wants. So we're actually going to be on the glide scope. Oh, God. Glide slope. Look, I was up all night. Leave me alone.
Wind 220 at 2 knots.
Let's do another notch of flaps. Gear comes down. Gear overspeed. Oh, gear overspeed. That's the first time we've had the gear overspeed warning. So that's good to know. Hopefully, we didn't just break our gear off. I want to go ahead and pull back a little bit. I want to look down. I can't really look down too well with my thumb hat here. Okay, gear. We are getting a normal thing on the gear indicator. Sorry about that. Sorry about that for my lovely little gear. Didn't mean to break you. But we're going to be fine. What a view, though. Look at this. Look at the mountains in the distance. That is impressive. Holy cow. Well, he got in here. I probably could have waited to deploy the gear for a little bit longer, and I'm actually hovering above the runway now. For some reason, my joystick is not wanting to cooperate. Yeah, this has a really high idle. Also,
landing time
that hit the ground way earlier than I expected.
Landed at Kilo Hotel Charlie Romeo.
We must be just a lot taller off the ground than I thought we were. Either way, we made it here. This is our first leg in our multi-leg journey. Sorry, I'm trying to like reach over. What did I just hit? Oh God, did I hit the gear button? Super awkward. I really do need a nice big flight controller with like 1,000 buttons on the side. All sorts of fun goodies here. I think I'm going to miss this taxiway. But anyways, what I'll do is proceed into hangar or proceed over to parking. Refuel if we have fuel here, which we should according to on-air company manager. Load up again. We're basically switching payloads. We're switching from our surgeons right now. I think we're picking up 7 people now, as opposed to just having 2. I'm going to blow this, aren't I? Dude, we are flying. We were only going like 40 knots, but boy, did we miss that turn. I should have cut the video right before that. You all know anyways, though. You know. Here, this is my parking spot. Just for me. Right over here, I'm meeting some guy by the side of the road. He's going to drop these folks off and get us what we need. Perfect. Super sketchy deal. Okay, so here's the end of flight real quick, since I did want to start showing these a little bit more often. So yeah, that gear overspeed there at the end definitely kind of screwed us up a bit. So we had a gear overspeed, which was unfortunate. So we got a little bit of a reputation down. But now I know to take the approach a little bit, maybe stretch that approach out. Oh, you know what? Some folks, I completely forgot to try it out. Somebody mentioned the, oh my gosh, the slew? What do they call that? It's a type of approach where you're basically holding your right rudder, for example, and then you tilt your left wing down. So you're kind of starting to, like, if you just roll to the left, your plane will naturally want to turn left. But if you rudder to the right, you're countering that force. So it's just a way for you to kind of slow the aircraft without really taking any big course adjustment changes. I completely forgot the name of the maneuver too. I apologize for that. A slewed approach or angled approach. I honestly don't remember. Anyways, we got our first flight done, or first mission done. So let's take a quick peek at our pending jobs, make sure that everything else is still good to go. We're now doing our executive transport. This is 7 executives heading up, so should be, again, relatively easy. KHCR up to CYRL. Then we're going to pick up our medical transport, which is getting a little bit closer to being finished. So I think, you know what? I wonder if I honestly think with the times involved, if I wasn't doing simulation changes, this might have failed. So I feel a little bit bad about that because it's 9 hours to get from CYRL to KBTM, which is not a 9-hour flight, but this would be, I mean, we got 2 flights here. We're going, how many miles overall? We're going 900 miles and then 800 miles. So yeah, that's a pretty long flight. 1750 miles. So that would be a couple hours. Obviously there is supposed to be some kind of built-in rest whenever you're flying as a commercial pilot. So we are violating a few rules there, but that's okay. It's a fun part of the game. That's why I'm on the Cumulus server, right? We're gonna have some fun with it. I do want to start up a new company over on Thunder at some point, but for the moment I'm still having fun just kind of mucking about in on the Cumulus server, having life a little bit not quite as painful. I'll go ahead and prepare for our next flight, and I guess we'll just do the same thing again. Hopefully we have fuel here. I hope we do. That's about 900 miles away, so we're going to give ourselves about 1,100 pounds of fuel. Or sorry, 1,100 nautical miles worth of fuel. And we'll be golden. So with one job down, we've got our next job lined up here. So we're heading out from KHCR up to CYRL. Now, in between the last little clip and now, I actually had to sit down and take a nap, much like probably a real-life pilot would need to take a little bit of a break every now and then. So yeah, I am refreshed, ready to go. Let's take a quick peek over at KHCR. No, we want to go take a look at CYRL. What are we getting ourselves into? 969 miles away. Nice. And we have a single runway airport. So it is going to be pretty low key. It does apparently have jet fuel available. Yeah, they must have really changed how jet fuel was available through all the complaints in the forums or Discord. You should have stayed with it on air. Make us beg for it. Make us really embrace the pain. Let's go ahead and go over to our aircraft screen. We'll load up and do the needful. Oh, let's take a quick peek here at our pilots in northern Minnesota. You guys are doing great up there. That's great, don't you know? So they're flying over to their couple different legs, right? We had like 4 stops, I think, in this work order. But so far it's working okay, I think. We don't have any complaints yet. So they're still trucking along for this lovely $200,000 reward mission. Flight Simulator has finally loaded up. Man, this loading for Flight Simulator makes me just never want to turn it off. Not because I love it, but mostly because I don't want to wait for the freaking, I don't want to wait for everything else to load up in the background. All right, I'll get this squared away and I will meet you on the field. All right, so I kind of made a boo-boo and I started us right on the runway, but that's no big deal. It's gonna ding us a tiny bit as it is wont to do. Beautiful skies out there. Beautiful scenery. What a great place to just live. I mean, are you completely surrounded? Yeah, you're pretty much completely surrounded on all sides by mountains. What a great view, though. And that view especially, it's also a little bit intimidating. Are we going over those mountains? No, we're basically turning a 180, and we are flying out in that direction. So we're going to have plenty of time to basically do a circular climb and get up to the altitude we need. Not if we were going that direction. We'd probably run into a little bit of difficulty. Look at that road that just slices through. It just slices across the hillside. It's like a 40-degree angle road right there. All right, enough distractions. I've announced to traffic that we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and spin up, release the brakes, and release the horde. Hey, what does the AI set our RPM at? Okay, the RPM is set full by the start of the game. So there we go. That's our secret answer. Whatever the game decides for us to do, that's what we're going to do. By the way, if you guys haven't seen this, there was somebody who posted... I don't really have the link handy, but you can search for it, I believe. Somebody in the forums, I believe they came up with their own version of like a track IR that uses your webcam to track your facial movements and translates that into movement inside the cockpit with free look. So if you don't have a track IR, but you do have like a crappy old webcam, you may want to give that a shot. I think the utility's free. But I was thinking about that. For folks who just don't have a track IR like myself, but who really want to be able to do a lot of movements inside the aircraft. That would kind of be pretty nifty, to be honest. Let's go ahead and retract our flaps. A little bit let down too much of the nose there. My trim is a little bit sensitive. I wouldn't mind getting, like I said before, a pretty involved flight control panel or a complex yoke. Let's go ahead and pull back the throttle just a bit. ITT is a bit too high. And we'll start our climbing turn. 180 degrees around to the right. No clouds in the sky whatsoever. Is that how it's like today in Utah? It might be. Oh, I didn't bank. Oh, I did bank to 45 degrees. My eyes did not kind of line up with our nav ball there. I completely thought we were on the 30-degree marker. That's my fault. That is my fault. That's 2 hits for me today. Already off to a fantastic start, as per usual. Are we carrying food? No, we're carrying passengers. Hang on back there, folks. Nobody worry. I just wanted to give you a little bit of thrill of what it's like to be in a little fighter plane. I've been reading a lot of Churchill lately and thinking about Spitfires and Hurricanes. I wanted to feel what it's like. I will engage the autopilot, and we are going to be on our way. So nothing too fancy for this flight. Just a nice, calm flight northeast up to Ontario. We will rescue our pilot who's there. I guess I'll just give him orders to go do something. But we'll take that flight, that job that he had, and kind of take it in the rest of the way back to the west. I think it's going back to Montana. So we're going to turn around and make another super long flight right after this one. Notification of a flight registered here. This was KHVR to KBJI. I believe that might have been one of the legs of the Coronado. So I think our lovely friends in the Coronado are all set. And I think at our climb rate, we should be fine to get over the next set of mountains. What a great view, though. Who knew that Utah was so damn beautiful? This is why I love this flight simulator, because you get to see stuff like this that you really wouldn't get to experience. You wouldn't know, or you wouldn't find these little hidden paradises with amazing views or certain scenarios like really bad weather. And you really wouldn't do that if you weren't flying some, random cargo missions from Timbuktu into Utah or wherever you're going to. So as we're climbing up to our cruising altitude of 32,000 feet today, I did want to pop over to mfsaddons.org, or sorry, msfsaddons.org. If you're unfamiliar with this, now these aren't the same add-ons that are in the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace. I believe this site is going to host a lot more options. So if you wanted to, there are mobile app for Android. I think this might have been the thing that I was talking about. Yes, Smooth Track. This is the thing that was developed by a person who basically is using the camera. Oh, that's right. It uses your Android or iOS, I believe. I have no idea. It's all witchcraft. But yeah, you can actually see how he's moving his head, and it's directly changing something in the flight. So if you're really interested in that, check out Smooth Track, and do give some love over to MSFS. So take a look and see. There's FS Economy, for example. ATC Renamer, VFR Map, tons of really useful links, basically add-ons, plugins, whatever you might want to use. It's going to give you a ton of good options. What I'd like to see, I'm kind of curious though, if we actually have any planes on msfsaddons.org in terms of an X-Wing. I saw an article in Rock, Paper, Shotgun that they've already added Godzilla to a couple of the different cities here. P-51 Racer, FA-18. We've got a Boeing 797 blended wing concept, if you really want to rock out. And apparently somebody has kind of improved the Airbus A320, which is kind of cool. So I don't know what they've changed in particular. Focusing on the ECAM. This is the centralized computer console, I believe. Well, that's pretty cool. Fancy stuff. But, we're very early, and we're in the infancy of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 add-ons. So do keep sites like this on your favorite spar. They will come up with good stuff over time. Keep an eye out for, of course, Flight Simulator Discords and interested, flight communities. They always tend to have their ear to the ground when it comes to brand new, awesome add-ons. And I talk a lot about, there are aircraft that you can buy through the marketplace, but there's also free add-ons that are really high quality that are offered by users of the community. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick, just for you to have in your toolbox of flying plug-in fun. I see in our little radar here that we've got a lot of aircraft in the area. This must be normal daily flights. Now, if we're traveling across here, I would assume that this is going to be a high flyer, but it might not necessarily be. I'm trying to get the identification I don't think we have air collisions turned on, but it's kind of terrifying. I mean, if you've ever been near a busy airport in Flight Simulator, to kind of come across an aircraft, you know, flying along your path is kind of surprising sometimes. So it can happen. It can definitely happen every so often. This is about a 15 nautical mile radius. This is relatively close by. I'm always a little bit concerned when I can't find our friends here. In theory, we'd be in much better contact with ATC, and they'd probably give us an exact flight level for where our friend is. But I don't particularly see them. So they're either down really, really low, or I just have really, really bad eyes, which is, in fact, a possibility. Oh, I see a little bit of light right there. Look at that. Did you see that? If you didn't, I'm proud of myself. Little tiny flash of speck of light down there. All right, we've identified our neighboring traffic. You know what? Yep, there they go. They just warped ahead a little bit, so we're all set to go. So, I mean, in the end, I kind of have enjoyed flying the Baron. I mean, once you get over, you know, we're leaving our TBM behind, and I feel like it's a breakup that I don't want to break up with. You know, I miss our TBM. I love our TBM, but the Baron does a really good job. It's got a pretty decent range. This is a 5-hour flight, by the way. This is a really big flight, but we have a ton of fuel. Here's our primary tanks, by the way. And I forgot how to see. Aux transfer override. You should be able to see monitor fuel quantity in auxiliary tanks. We have some auxiliary tanks as well as our primary tanks. So we're able to kind of see the backup. I don't think the auxiliaries have as much fuel. I think these are emergency, maybe? I'd have to look into the guide and see what auxiliary are used for. But yeah, we have an absolute ton of fuel. And then once we get up top, we'll get into that 55 gallons per hour range. And I don't know, do we have any kind of a wind today? Let's poke some buttons here on our FMS. Am I not going to be able to do it over here? Maybe I have to come down here and do it. The higher we go, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but remember I talked about the prop, and the prop wasn't quite speeding up. When I got higher and higher up, the prop RPMs increased over time to about 2,000. I actually had to throttle back on the RPMs quite a bit, but that balanced everything out. So I kept it at the green zone, and always keep pulling the torque back a little bit so we don't over torque, I guess, over speed. Who knows? There's phrases for that I simply don't know. Yeah, I guess there's maybe just not a wind option on our FMS here. So yeah, I don't think we have anything here. Full split. We've already pushed the buttons here. Map options, maybe? Map. That's just going to show us the map itself. Direct to, nav stuff, nearest, nav frequencies. So we don't have like a settings page as far as I can see, but that's fine. I was just kind of curious about what the wind was like, but maybe there's like a gauge for it that I don't really know about. There's so many buttons on the King Air. We've reached our cruising altitude. We're sitting at 32,000 feet, and this is what I was talking about. How you can see that the prop speed is actually starting to increase up here. So I did pull back. I don't know what the magic numbers are. I pulled back the RPMs a bit, and I pulled back the fuel flow. Oops. 72, 71 or so. I'm trying to basically get that magic 55 or so. 55, 52 is normally where I'm pretty happy with the fuel flow. And I'm kind of curious if it should be... I mean, I guess it's our overall throttle that would make the difference. There we go. Let's pull that back to about 52 or so. 53, 52. And we're going 354 knots right now. That's crazy fast. We're over ground. That's our ground speed. So we must have a bit of tailwind, actually, because normally I think I've hit maybe 320 while cruising. So as you can see, our flight estimated time has changed from 5 hours to 2 hours and 33 minutes. So we are going to be much, much faster, as we are probably getting a little bit of a boost. I'm kind of bummed that I don't see any kind of wind. I bet it's right here in front of me somewhere, and I'm just missing it. Yeah, I don't know. The touch screen, I think if we had more of these active, I would probably be able to get to some kind of a weather overlay. Either way, I'm pretty happy with where we are, so I'm going to go ahead and just continue the flight. I will speed things up just for my own sake, so I don't have to sit here for 5 hours, but I will start the descent. I don't know if I'm going to show you too much more. I might should show you the landing, because again, I'm cramming like 4 different flights here into one video, so sorry for the back and forth, but hopefully today has been something a little bit different. And like I said, very soon we'll start looking into maybe the CJ4 for a bit of a new style of flying. So an hour later or so, we are now about 36 miles away from our destination. As you can see, a lovely little cloud layer. Not a crowd layer, but a cloud layer. And I think it's just a single, yeah, it doesn't seem to be a lower layer. So we're going to penetrate through that. Should have no problems there. I think I've actually managed to start my descent early for once. I always, it's like, as the sun rises, is how often this happens. I always tend to come in way too high to an airport. I always leave my descent way too early. So this time I started super early descent. But as you can see, we are approaching Red Lake. Let's take a quick peek at the airport just to see what we're looking at. Red Lake is CYRL. Okay, there's so many lakes around here. Oh, it's so Canadian, eh? Let's take a quick look around our 360 and our Baron. All the poofy clouds. I have been having some weird, I don't know if it's a weather effect. Whenever you have on, and I'm actually going to get dinged for this because the on-air company manager detected me kind of swinging up and down because the simulator, as I had my sim rate turned up, I don't know if I was changing weather layers or what happened, but the plane just severely veered like directly up. It like kind of suddenly out of nowhere jumped right up, and then obviously the autopilot overcorrected down, and I kind of did this bounce back and forth. So I hit a G limit. I almost said something different. I hit a G limit and got a bit of a penalty there. So we'll have probably a couple penalties, unfortunately, for this flight, but Flight Simulator still has some weird kinks in terms of running the simulator at a high speed. So Red Lake Airport is going to have an approach over Mackenzie Island here. So we're looking for an approach over a rather large lake, which is going to be right here. So what I'm actually going to do is go ahead and just do our heading, and we'll shift our heading over just a couple of degrees so that I start to get some separation here from the runway, and then we'll just go ahead and do our approach here. I think it's a pretty small runway. This is probably going to be unmanned. Nothing too fancy, but again, this is where we're going to be able to pick up our next leg of our flight and start heading back towards home. Meanwhile, I think we've got, let's see, we have, let's take a look at our live operations map. And by the way, this is actually really fun to do while you're in flight, because I'm always looking for something to kill time. Like once you're up in the air, Flight Simulator can get a little bit boring, right? I mean, there's only so much you're going to be looking at any given time. So what I normally do is have something else kind of in a windowed screen, and really working on your company is a great way to kind of take care of some of your time here. So you're able to, you know, hey, wow, they're actually really close to us. You're able to kind of modify, you know, flights or set up flights for other employees. They're heading over to, where are you guys going to? I don't even know this flight. I actually looked up, I think I told you about this, but it was a flight fuel planner and AirNav flight fuel stop planner. I think, yeah, this is it right here. So basically you give them your destination or your departure airport, and you give them your target airport or something like this, like KJFK, for example, and it'll tell you, it'll ask you what kind of airports, what kind of fuel do you need, and then you'll also be prompted for what is your normal range. So I think our range on this particular flight, not this flight, but for our AI pilots was around like 600 or so, and it'll actually give you a bunch of runway or a bunch of airports here where you can refuel and have all your different legs. So that's a kind of a cool tool. It is free to use, which is pretty nifty. I really like using all of these real life resources for pilots for a virtual game. It's so much fun, and it does add another layer of immersion to it. Where are we at financially, by the way? I want to take a quick peek at that. We're at $500,000 cash. You know what I'd like to do? The next time I get a point available from a level up, I think I'm going to go into the bank loan, and I would like to see what kind of a loan we could take out. I think it depends on how much capital you already have. We don't have any assets to back up anything, so I'd really like to buy a plane, and we've been talking about this, of course, on and off for some time. I do believe it'd be great to go ahead and purchase either a King Air or, I guess, one of the other aircraft that we're not going to fly, that we can basically just assign to our AI. So like the Serenado DO-20-8, that would be a pretty decent aircraft for transport, for hauling, what have you. So it's interesting that you're able to do that. I really like the idea of just being able to buy something that you don't necessarily have to use in the simulator, but you could give it to all of your different pilots. Our TBM could use an order. TBM needs to head over to, I already forgot where our pending jobs are. I'm still trying to work down this level 4 mission. And like I said before, level 5 Asia tour is up on my radar. So at some point, probably once we head back home. Oh no, don't crash on me. Am I going to lose On Air? Oh no. This might be the first crash that On Air has ever had while flying. I wonder if it's going to completely screw our flight. Let's pause real quick. Well, unfortunately, I'm kind of bummed about this one. This is going to hurt a little bit because this has been a rather long flight. So this flight might be donezo. I don't know what happens when on-air crashes, actually. And this, I will say, this is the first time this program has ever crashed on me, so I'll give it a little bit of slack. If it happens again, though, we're gonna have a talk on air. I'll tell you what. This has been spinning for a couple minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and close the program. We'll see if we're able to retain any information about our flight. Our aircraft may just be remembered as flying.
Your flight is resumed in on-air.
Let's take a look. So it resumed it in on-air. Let's go ahead and unpause. And did it put us right about where we're supposed to be? Yeah, actually it did. That's not bad. Okay, cool. So we recovered from a crash. We're still where we're supposed to be. And all is well with the world. Awesome. I don't have to fuss at on-air too bad. So there you go. You can crash your program and still not hate it forever and ever. I'm going to go ahead and complete the approach and landing here. I'll show you a little bit of the approach because it looks like it's going to be a gorgeous approach out over the lake. And I assume our runway is... God, there's so many little lakes here. All the way out there. And I think it's over a little tiny island. It might be right there. It's supposed to be out over the lake and then over an island. It's either this little island or this little island right here. And that's the runway. I'm going to go ahead and increase the rate of our descent a wee bit more. And try to get pretty low. No ILS stuff here. I don't think it's really needed. The clouds are actually really low. It's about a 3,000-foot cloud ceiling right now. But again, shouldn't be too much of a problem for our mighty TBM of glory. Oh, actually, I kind of think that I'm coming in a little bit too direct. I think I'm going to go ahead and lean a little bit left. The runway, I believe, this is Mackenzie Island. So I think the runway is going to be somewhere right around... Oh, wow, it's much closer than I thought it was. There it is. Guess what? Once again, I still managed to be high. I'm always high on my approaches. I cannot win when it comes to approaches. Let's go ahead and increase our rate of descent. And we are going to... apparently, our co-pilot automatically is announcing our approach and our final, so that'll be fine. Waiting to see the runway. I think that's the start of the runway right over there. So we're going to go ahead and disengage the autopilot. And we're really close to that 250 speed limit. But I think by settling out here, we're going to be fine. And finally, I think I'm actually on the glide scope. So I'm going to go ahead and cut back power almost to idle. Because this thing likes to maintain its forward momentum forever and ever. I will go ahead and put out one notch of flaps early. I'm still trying to get a feel for this too. The King Air is relatively new. Remember, we had a lot of time with our TBM. We had a long-term relationship. It was great for both of us. We didn't, we had an amicable breakup. We will come back together at some point. But the TBM was I don't know, I really enjoyed the TBM. Really a fun experience. And I'm looking forward to when people start putting out modified versions where they kind of add a couple more features. Like the King Air could use a little bit of love, right? Because there are quite a few controls here. There's so many buttons to push, though. That's a lot of work. I kind of see the island in front of us here is a little bit... It kind of comes up a little bit. Let me zoom in real quick. I need to have like a little zoom feature. Yeah, so we'll want to probably swoop down just a wee bit. These clouds... Oh, this is a ground fog. I thought these were really low. Luckily, we're able to see the runway, so we are going to go through our decision altitude and be able to acknowledge the fact that we can, in fact, see the runway. Just in time, too, because we almost can't. And this is not equipped for ILS flight. There we go. So we are on our approach. I'm going to go ahead and put our second notch of flaps out. And wait for just a minute. And now I will go ahead and put our gear down. Because I did learn my lesson about gear warnings. How close are we to the trees? Not too bad. That wasn't too shabby. Welcome to Red Lake, friends. Red Lake, Canada. As beautiful as you can be. A little shallow. Even out just a wee bit there so we don't quite clip the end of the runway trees. And we'll just land right on the numbers. Idle.
Landing time.
Hey, much better than I normally do.
Landed at Charlie Yankee
Look at that, guys. It only took about, what, 8 episodes of videos here before I finally started doing appropriate, smoother landings. So welcome. We are here. We're set. I'm going to go ahead and end the flight as soon as I can find a taxiway. Alternatively, this might be such a small runway. And in fact, I think it is. It's a really short runway here. We're going to be turning around on the runway itself. So, yeah, there's really no proper spot to come off. I think it might have been right back there. But I'm going to just dip off the runway here. And we'll end our flight, transfer everything over. We'll say that we're meeting someone over here by the bushes. And they're going to give us all of the items that we're looking for. We're transferring our 7 people. And we'll be on our way very soon to Western... what are we going to? Western Oregon? Western somewhere. So I'll tell you what. This is a really long video as it is. Because this was so many different flights. I'm going to go ahead and end the video right here. I hope you'll trust in me that I should be able to get us home without too many issues. So real quick, let's go ahead and do the parking brake now that I've got an extra minute or two. Acknowledge the master warning that the brakes are on. And we are landing in a field. I think that should be a master warning in its own right. Turn everything off, and we'll cut out the engine. Okay, so here's the end of the flight. We've got, of course, the ding here for the G-forces. This is where a weather pattern, I think, changed while I was simulating at a faster rate. So the aircraft jumped up, like, it lost or jumped up like 2,000 feet. So lots of G-forces there because the autopilot corrected. I did have that little bit of an excess bank. That was actually a really big penalty. So that was my fault. I was not looking at the right angle. I kind of got my eyes glazed over, and I thought it was at the 30-degree marker, but I was, in fact, at the 47-degree marker. But that's fine. Otherwise, we finished our job with 7 executives, and of course, we have our flight back. So if you trust me, I think what we'll do is I'll just go ahead and fly this last leg by myself off camera, because it's just a normal, calm flight from Western Ontario over to Western Montana. I think we're right on the border somewhere. We might even be going to Butte, Montana. KBTM. Let's take a quick peek at our job since I've got you here. My lovely captive audience, here to the last. Our flight is done in 3 hours. We got to take off right now in order to get this mission going. So I'm going to go ahead and turn around and do that. And otherwise, yeah, when we're done with this, I'm going to try to find one more hop back to Vancouver. And then I'm going to try to find a flight heading west across the Pacific. So that'll be our first transoceanic flight. And I guess we'll look for a CJ4. And oh yeah, I'll have to do a check ride in that as well. So more fun to come in the next couple of videos, friends. Thanks so much for all your support and all your interest. I do appreciate it. If you haven't joined us yet on Discord, please do take a look at the more description field below. That is where we have our information about Discord and all sorts of fun things like Patreon as well as Twitter. I have been doing a lot more streaming on Twitch, although I don't really do a lot of Flight Simulator on Twitch because it's boring when we're streaming, but feel free to swing by on Twitch, give me a follow, and then it'll send you a little message when we go live. Thanks, friends, as always. Fly safe, and I'll see you next time.